We are back with another episode of the Pristine Connections podcast with Joshua Koehn. Last week, we kind of talked a little bit just about business in general, but I want to kind of take a deep dive because y'all have had a lot of company growth recently, a lot of projects going on. So I want to kind of get into the nitty gritty of all of that. So we'll just start with the roofing company. Give us a quick update on that.
So roofing has been taking a lot of turns, just growing in different ways, having different ideas. Basically, we've had it for 5 years now, but as of 2 months ago, I hired a new roofing manager to run kind of the residential side of things. And so since that's happened, just a lot of things been picking up because we've had storms that popped up very quickly. Like as soon as he came up, or I think the day he was hired, actually, like that was the decision maker, was because me and Michael were interviewing him for a week. We sat down, had breakfast, and then we had another phone call, or maybe it was a phone call, then we had breakfast, and we kind of were considering the offers, going back and forth, negotiating, but then a storm happened that night, and we're like, hey, if you're going to do this, now's the time.
Yeah.
Like, we just had a big storm. He was currently working at a roofing company. So I'm like, look, either you're going to blow that company up or you're going to blow ours up. But like, now's the time to make the pick, because if it's tomorrow, like you're going to already having to be work for somebody. So it's like, let's make the decision. So literally the day he came in, there was a storm. It was just him basically, didn't have any sales guys. But since then we've hired, in about 2 months now, we've got 2 people that are like limited part-time that go in and door knock just once a week, pretty much, just setting a couple of appointments. 2 more that are more part-time. They have another job and they door knock and also, set appointments for more like 15, 20 hours a week.
Yep.
And then we have now 2 full-time guys. One of them's new into roofing. We're training him, getting him running and everything. And the other guy's actually been in here for a while. So he's hired as more of like a supervisor, as a full-time repair guy as well. So, which same thing happened with him. Like we had a storm pretty much the day that we hired him. Like we didn't know this when we hired him, but we're like, let's set up the day for Thursday to start. And on Wednesday, we have a call from an apartment complex that needed like 1,000 repairs. When I say 1,000, I'm not. It sounds a little bit high, but that's
complex.
Probably still a couple hundred. I mean, it's
Sure.
It's a lot, if not actually 1,000. And so he started with a bang as well on that. And so so basically we went from 1 employee in roofing to now 6, and then sort of a 7th because we have an office person that we picked up as well. And so growing very quickly on that front. Lots of challenges along the way of just everything with growth costs a lot of money. We've had to buy 2 trucks now, the employee costs, the training costs, lots of, brochures and paperwork and all that other back end stuff. Yep. We've got an office now as well. So we got, it's kind of a cool thing that we haven't had yet. We've had everything either out of my house or I've had a virtual assistant. So now we have an actual office that we can have our office person work out of, store stuff, have meetings, have conference rooms, that kind of thing, to do trainings with everybody.
That's
and
awesome.
So, we're working on all the systems and such like that now. We're working on our bathroom remodeling right now too, on a couple things, which is great because we've done them in the past, but it's just now with our new team, like this is the work that we're able to accomplish. So
absolutely. So those go hand in hand. You're kind of leaning into the remodeling side with the roofing side, just from all the repairs. And, okay.
Yeah.
What's your goal? So y'all have an office space. Are y'all wanting to ever get like a warehouse and just run things out of your warehouse? So everything's just in-house?
Right now we are renting that separately. And so that's where the landscaping and the roofing kind of, overlap on each other a bit. That's where like we can keep extra materials. It's where we have the extra truck right now. It's where you can park and keep things. And that's where we have, like a new marketing strategy for roofing as well that we'll talk about in a minute. But basically we have that. But yeah, we'd like to, in the future, probably within the next year, buy a facility that we can either build or just have like probably about 2 or 3 acres. So we have enough room to park for employees. Landscaping, storage takes a lot of space because you got to have a big gravel area for dumping and just for trailer parking, machines, like storage of all your mowers, trucks, stuff like that that takes a lot of space. Yeah. And so right now we have that. It's in Salina, so they kind of have that, and then we have our Allen office now that's just for the office side. And so we'd like to combine those together in the future and have one place that we work out of.
Yeah. So we talked about challenges with growth, but at the end, what resources are you utilizing for like training for your employees?
So right now, that's where Chris is working on a lot, is developing more of like a systematized version of that. So that way everybody gets the same thing. We've created a couple documents of just like step-by-step processes and,
Sure.
As well as for like KPIs of to set goals. So that way we know how to plan out our whole year. Because with roofing, the nice thing about it is it's a pretty generally, like you can like say if you do this many hours of work doing this task and that, like this is what comes out of it. And then it changes a little bit per person, but you can pretty much set up your whole year by just knowing that, like, if I hire a decent salesperson or can train him to be a decent salesperson, he goes out and spends 10, 15 hours a week door knocking, that's going to produce 4 sales a month. Well, 4 sales a month on average is going to be about $40,000. So they make $160,000 in revenue. So if I want to make $5 million in revenue, I need, 4 guys.
Right.
And then you can kind of do just the reverse math on that.
Sure.
Of going, so if I want to do $10 million in revenue, that means I need 10 guys and they have to spend this much time doing it.
Yep.
Or kind of mix those together and do like, okay, so maybe they do 7 or 8 hours of door knocking, but then you have to do a budget of this much for marketing. And so that's
Right.
where the landscaping has actually turned out really well for marketing as well, because I go to so many appointments every day doing landscaping quotes. I can talk to them about roofing. And so
Yeah.
that's helping to cut down a lot on the work. So even though we're a small team that's growing and there's a lot of new people that don't have experience yet,
Right.
we've been able to supplement that big time with the landscaping, because when I go out there and I pick them up for landscaping and we talk about roofing and say, hey, doing bigger projects means you can save more money, so I can give you a
Sure.
discount by doing 2 things at once. It's something that's very attractive to the customer. It helps us with our acquisition costs, because now we're not having to pay. If you get a lead off of Google, you're probably going to pay somewhere between, $100 a lead, and then go, to a couple of them. So your
Easily.
acquisition cost is, easily about $500 to, up to $1,000, depending on where you're getting your leads from.
Yeah.
And it also saves me the landscaping cost, because I paid for a landscaping lead at the reduced, I think it's like $200 for like an actual sale cost. And so I'm using that $200 acquisition to sell a landscaping project, and then now also probably way upsell into a roof,
Yeah.
which is where you have better margins, where I didn't have to pay the acquisition. It's a referral. Referrals are always the best sales. They're just
Yeah.
easier to work with. They already trust you. They know you've done good work or
Yeah.
can do good work, and that it just makes life a lot simpler. So we've already, in those 2 months, we've already started about 15 claims, which for most roofing companies probably isn't a lot, but for somebody that we only had like 2 guys for most of that
Yeah.
time, that's really great.
Sure.
Like that's good.
Yeah.
And so now we're working more into, like, we have the team, developing their own sales through referrals, as well as we've picked up some for networking now too, which is pretty great. We haven't had that before. This past month, we've picked up some referrals from landscaping and roofing that, we really hadn't gotten any before, but because it takes that 6 months for us to really
Yeah.
develop the relationships. But since then, we didn't meet them from networking, but I think because of the relationship from networking, that's where we picked up that apartment complex repair.
Yeah.
That might turn into a full roof replacement because of all the damage. So we started the claim and we're working through that right now. But that could be $1 million roof replacement right there.
Right.
And
Which really
then
sets you up.
we've got another one that was sent to us because of that too. That's probably another $800,000 roof in another city in Houston. I mean, there's no way we wouldn't have ever gotten that deal if it wasn't from networking.
Absolutely. So you said 5 years. Where did you see yourself from then to now? Like, are you
Are you saying
happy?
from now in the past, or like
Yeah,
5 years
sorry.
from now?
No, 5 years from the past.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So are you where you were wanting to be? Are you close? I would say
So
yes,
5
because
years
you've had
ago,
a lot of
I
growth.
had goals for what I was going to do. So so in landscaping terms, we're definitely way ahead.
Yeah.
Because our first year we did $600,000 in revenue. Our second year we did 1.2 million, and then this last year we did 1.9, and then this year we'd like to do 3 to 3.5 million.
Okay.
So in those ways, yeah, I thought, because like our first year goal in landscaping, and this is when I thought I had a partner that knew how to do everything, and I had no idea. So I thought I was like, leaning on him,
Yeah.
and then he quit 2 weeks in. So, but we together we're planning 400,000, and so hitting 800,000 or 600,000 our first year by myself with no experience definitely blew that out of the water. I didn't think we'd hit
Yeah.
that. And then from there, being able to double that each year too was, pretty
Huge.
great.
Yeah,
that was ahead of schedule. But I did think we would be into the roofing earlier. So we have kind of like, we do want to press roofing harder because I thought we'd be starting that last year, and we didn't really kick off into like how it has been this year, where we're really starting to scale up and grow it into more than just a 1 or 2 man operation. But because of how well the landscaping is working with the roofing, and then we found some pretty solid people, that is definitely helping us get there a lot quicker.
Yeah. Well, I know you had a client recently that literally, whether they realized they did it or not, hit absolutely everything that you guys offer as your multiple companies.
Yeah. So they bought, we went out there for landscaping. Once again, just out there for something simple. They were wanting like a $3,000 project for a path. We turned that into a full backyard remodel. So then that turned into like a $22,000 deal. And then while I was out there talking to them, I was like, have you seen how messed up your fence is? There's a storm. They had no idea. They're like, we were out of town. And so I told them what's been going on. We were working on a house just down the street from them, from a realtor that had referred us a roof. And we're like, that's why we're over there, is because of that. And we should check it out. So we checked out the roof. They did a claim with us to get the roof replaced, and we did like their gutters, their fence. There was some work on their AC units. There was a broken window from the hail. Got that fixed. Got some new window screens, and then while we were going through the process, then they upgraded also to a class 4 shingles, so that way they don't have to go through this process nearly as much, because now they have a stronger, better shingles. So not only did they get a new roof and all those other items, they got their new landscaping. Everything tied in together, nice and simple.
They have like a whole new house at this point on the outside. So do you find that it's easier to sell everything together, or is it easier to just do one company at a time?
Yeah, so this kind of goes to where, like, what's your target audience? And so it's like if you can sell a project like landscaping where it's a $10,000 to $20,000 project, I mean, they normally would like to make things easier. That's why they're hiring us in the first place, because most of the stuff I do is not that complicated. Like landscaping is not like super difficult to do. Like if you're trying to like lay new sod, it's not super hard. It's just people don't want to do it.
Right.
They would rather pay somebody else. Well, same thing with the roof. They don't want to have to deal with the claim and the headache and going to do research. Or like, is this being done properly? Am I messing up? Everyone knows insurance doesn't want to pay for stuff. That nobody wants to be the person that starts a claim and then they say something that gets the claim denied, or they don't. When it gets denied, like, are they right? Like, is this one of those times they're lying, or is there actually no damage?
Sure. Yeah, I understand that. So have you seen an issue with just finding subcontractors? I know there was kind of a shortage for a while. No.
So not with roofing. Roofing's pretty easy there's tons of people up here for that. And so it's not a hard part, because it's just like putting the work in, just put some time in. It's just vetting the crews. Who's going to show up on time, who's got the insurance, who's got all the different pieces that we need to make sure that it's a good fit. Like, because you also don't want a small crew that's going to take multiple days to do what should be a one-day job, because we don't want to cause more of a headache and mess than we need to. And also there's more liability when it's open for 2 days if it starts raining, or just something happens. It's Texas. Just wait 5 minutes, the weather will change.
You never know.
So you kind of just go through, vet the crews, and then you have some backups in case that crew gets too busy, because the unfortunate thing is anybody that's really good at what they do is going to be busy. And so that's where you have to have enough volume with them that they prioritize you over somebody else, because if they're good, man, everybody wants them.
Oh, for sure. Well, with that too, I think about costs associated with subcontractors. There's some that just really inflate their numbers, or some that really charge a lot on the labor side. So how do you kind of offset some of that, especially with your larger projects? That's just a part of the
vetting. So like, we know what it costs to do this. And so, you just ask, that's part of the, like, how good are you? Like, what's your pricing as well? Because some people, they're really good and they know it, so then they charge more. Well, that's probably not a good fit, because we want to be able to have a fair, competitive price for our customers. And we can't do that if we, have a subcontractor charging too much. And so, and that's also what makes it kind of a constant, a little bit of a turn as well, because when they're really good and then everyone's trying to get them, and then they start changing their pricing, and then you kind of have to start back from square one. So it's kind of that constant evolution of making sure everything is up to date, but it's just, that's why we have a manager. So a lot of people in the roofing industry don't realize what business they're in. Their business is not selling roofs. They are a sales company that's only sell roofs, if that makes sense. And it sounds like a very small distinction, but it's like when you're growing a roofing company, you're not trying to just get a ton of roofs. What you need is quality salespeople with quality contractors. You need a sales manager to track the KPIs and keep everybody accountable. Because like in pretty much every roofing company I've seen, I very rarely see it where they have a sales manager that isn't also the top salesperson. So either they have a sales manager or the owner still working in the company, and he sells double what everybody else does.
Right.
And that's not really what you should be doing if you want a sustainable company, because what that means is you don't have time to train other people to do it as good as you.
Right.
You're probably taking all the leads that come in, so they're having, you're making it look easy, and then when they come in, it's a whole different story. And then you're just not giving them the time they need. If you're out selling $2 or $3 million worth a year, when they have a question, you don't have time to answer it because you're too busy.
Well, I feel like that almost takes away from the employees too. Like, good for you, but teach your employees how to do double,
Yeah, because like anybody could do it, but it takes time. And then there is, kind of like being the owner, you do get the leads that come in, like the option to take them or pass them on. And so that makes your life a lot simpler, because if you're not having to spend, to pick up a decent, inspection, you're probably gonna have to do an hour to 2 hours of door knocking. If you don't have to spend those 2 hours, you just go straight to it, you just knock those out all day, you're definitely gonna sell more.
Yeah.
Just the volume, just put the work in.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously with business comes risks. I mean, how are you managing some of that? I mean, I know you have to take some risks, like you just you spent a lot of money to buy trucks, but you know that it'll lead to sales. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, surprisingly, like just with how everything's been up, I've always had to get loans for trucks and such for like landscaping. We've actually been like for the last truck we got, we just paid cash for it.
Nice.
And so that's something that's like an asset. It's not something that's costing us more a month. That is something that a lot of roofing companies, the reason why they have high turnover, that they go out of business, is because they have a storm season where they come in and they see all this money because they just started like a ton of claims. They know there's a ton of money coming in. And so then they go get an office and new trucks, and like they swap out their old trucks for new trucks and go get a bunch of equipment and just start inflating all their fixed costs. And then that causes huge problems when everything slows down towards Christmas time. There's still work to be done. There's just a lot less people that are pressed to do it the way it is now because, it just happened.
Right.
And so what they do is they go from spending $1,000 a month on fixed costs to now $5,000. Well, they just 5x their expenses. So if they don't, watch that or make sure that they stay above a certain point, or have strategies to keep their sales consistent, which is what we're working on right now. So, part of our marketing is, we have the networking side. We're starting Google ads, Facebook ads. We have a leads company that we've got. It's kind of like an Angie's List type thing that we've used, just testing different areas to see what works. Yeah. Because right now what works really well is door knocking and referrals, because there's a fresh storm. But when there's not a fresh storm, that's going to slow down a lot. And you can't, run a consistent company just off of referrals and grow at the same time. There's a lot of companies that can work 1 or 2 man shops and they can work off of referrals. But realistically, most companies, that's not something that's very reachable. So that's where you substitute that with something that you can control. Because I can always turn the lever up higher, if spend more money on ads to get more leads to because like right now acquisition costs are going to be lower, but in the future they'll be a lot higher, and we'll have to spend more to keep up to the same point. But that's just where you get the ebb and flow of business, and that's why you don't want to have higher fixed costs without having some way to make sure you stay with that higher revenue.
Especially since we're officially into summer. It's probably going to be drier at this point. I don't think we'll see really any more severe storms.
Some of the best things I've heard these days is where people are like, talking about, well, still storm season, like we can't put a roof up now, it might hail. I'm like, no, it's kind of over.
That's a great time, yeah. But I mean, it's a great time because now they're not having to worry about like, oh, I just got this replaced, another storm blew in. But so through summer, fall, and into the winter, I mean, how are you offsetting just the slowdown of business? I mean, what's your plan for that?
So right now we're talking with another company about maybe being a part owner in that. And I think that's going to help us out a lot with that, because I can do it on my own, but they already have some of the basics in place that would help out with that. And so, like I said, we're a sales company. We just prioritize roofing. Well, something that we're looking at doing is during the wintertime, when you get to October, that kind of stuff, is get away from just trying to do roofing and doing like Christmas lights. Oh, yeah. It's the same thing. You go out, you door knock, you price it out, give them a quote, and then combine the landscaping and the roofing side. So roofing has good salespeople that can go out, door knock. They're used to working with their customers, and they have, customers they've either currently working with, or they can go get more pretty easily, and just teach them how to quote it. It's very simple. It's a price per square foot. It's not complex. You teach them in a couple hours. And then I've got the landscaping side where same thing, it slows down at that time period. put all the projects that we have on hold, push them back a couple months, and then use those as the install crews.
Okay.
And so now you have both sides without having to sub it out, and they're both staying busy. Now, you don't make any money doing that, realistically, like as profit, but instead of taking a huge loss of, because you're either not working or you're working a lot less, now you have all the work you're pushing back, and you keep selling work along the way. So you still try to sell landscaping, you still try to sell roofing, you just push everything back to the end of that season. Well, the month or two that you save staying busy doing that, well, now all that stuff's pushed to you where it's even slower in January, and now you knock all that stuff out, and then it's spring again.
Right. Interesting. I like that transition. That's pretty different than what most people.
Because most people don't care when their roof gets done. They're not like, oh yeah, I need this done today. Like, if it's not today, my roof falls in.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it doesn't get to that point. Same thing with landscaping. Most people aren't. I'm having a party. I need it done today. Which if that's the thing, then you just normally have to charge a little bit more. Then you just rush it. And you just get it done.
Well, I think it's managing expectations. We live in I need it now, or like 2 weeks ago.
That's part of your qualifying. You just ask questions. You're like, hey, when do you need this done?
Yeah.
Then that's going to affect your pricing. That's going to affect, can I even help you at all? Like, maybe that's the end of the conversation.
Yeah. Well, it's not even that. It's just, hey, if it rains, your project's going to be delayed.
Yeah.
Like, there's absolutely nothing I can do about Mother Nature, like, again, just setting those expectations, because we just live in we can have everything right now society.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what about
now,
like
you
on
see
the
with like
remodel
Amazon
side?
shipping? I mean, that's like day one now. It's like same day. It used to be.
I know.
It used to be a week, and then it's like 2 days, and now everyone's like, man, if it's not here in 4 hours, I gotta,
Which really sucks, because I feel addicted to that, where I'm just like, you said today, and it's tomorrow now.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny thing. But.
What about like on the remodel side? Because I feel like that's a year round. I mean, just whenever you're
that's
ready.
Another thing too. So when we're out working on the stuff for the lights or for anything else, that's where our marketing right now is. Most of our dollars are going towards like roofing repairs, roof replacements, that kind of thing. And then that's where it's going to switch more heavy into the remodeling side, because that can be, like you said, year round.
Yep.
If anything, people almost prefer to do that, because like, oh, well, for the holidays, they're going to have family over or whatever else, or it's spring break, that kind of thing, where people are available to be home to watch the process and see what's going on, or go out. Some people just go out of town. They're just like, okay, like, handle this. We're going, and when we come back, we want it finished, so that way we don't even have to deal with the mess.
Well, whenever rates go down too, like a lot of people will pull out that equity, and then they're just like, or they use an unfortunate like disaster, like Snowmageddon or something, and they're like, well, we have this insurance money now, like we might as well just go ahead and redo to what we want, instead of just to fix.
It's kind of like the
problem.
Roof. It's like when you're going through, upgrade it to what you want it to be. If there's ever a time to put your metal roof on or class 4 shingle, it's already coming off. It's no cheaper time.
Sure, at least there's no like stipulations like, well, you have to get the same one. Like, well, I don't want the same one, because we would be in this position again.
Yep.
What else, is new, especially like on the remodel side? We've talked a lot about like roofing and landscaping stuff, but are y'all doing any projects right now?
Yeah, so right now we have a couple bathroom remodels. We've recently completed a couple accent walls and putting in like electric fireplace. We have one quote that's going out today for is painting, bathrooms, flooring, new baseboards, and then another one that was for it was really cool. So it's just taken out of like there's like a door and a couple windows, and we're going to get one of those like sliding glass doors where like accordion type deal, where it's like it's not flat, like it just collapses into each other. So it's really cool, like modern door type setup. And then also one for changing basically the full facade on a house, where we're taking out the windows, the doors, repainting, finishing, that kind of thing, to just just a couple things like that. Like it for $20,000 or $30,000, $40,000, depending on how big of a difference that you really wanted to make it, you can change the whole look of your house. Like, moving is very expensive. Like, sometimes if you already like the location, just upgrade. Just change a couple things in the house that's completely redone. Never have to deal with the fuss of moving.
Well, and it's a little more energy efficient
to move too.
Yeah, it's expensive to move, especially right now, for sure. So with all of the businesses that you have you ever thought about just being a one-stop shop for everything, instead of even subcontracting stuff out? Like, I'm going to be a paint company, I'm going to also install pools because I do landscaping. Like, have you thought about that?
Yeah, I've thought about that, but to me, so we would like to be somewhat of a one shop. Like, what I would like to do in the future, 5 years down the road, is probably buy like an HVAC, a plumbing, and electrical company, because then you kind of complete the major services on a house. There's still lots of little odds and ends that we're not going to cover, but you kind of get the major components. Plus, I just use a lot of those people. If I'm in landscaping and I build an outdoor kitchen, well, I need the plumber for the gas line, I need it for the sewer line because if you put a sink in there, I need water running to the sink. I need an electrician to run out there for the plugs, the lights, the fan.
Yeah.
All that stuff needs to get hung. And then
Most people want gas.
Yeah, like you got to have gas for because like propane works, but it's just you have to refill it.
Yeah.
It doesn't, it just doesn't work the same. Gas is always the way to go.
Yeah.
If you can, because if you're going to spend $50,000 or $100,000 on your backyard, what's the extra $5,000 or $10,000?
Yeah.
To get it done right and permanently.
50 on propane.
Yeah.
Every time.
It's a it just helps out a lot having all those people in house. Plus, like I said, when I was going to landscaping to sell roofing, well, I'm hearing about electricians and plumbers and AC all day long where people need those as well, and they can't get them to show up. They don't trust them because they're like, well, they came out, but they were kind of weird. Like I don't really want them to do it, so I just kind of gave up.
Yeah.
And then they stopped. So if you can help give them those people, and then they're out doing the same thing back and forth, then you probably don't have to spend any money. And that is actually a way where, like I said earlier, like most companies can't run except for a mom and pop on referrals.
Yeah.
Well, that's a way to actually do that without having to spend the money. And now you're making money on you're going out as an HVAC person and then you're talking about landscaping.
Yeah.
And it just kind of feeds down,
I just see it in different industries outside of trades too, like real estate. Like most people are trying to just be a one-stop shop for everything because it's just easier and you already have that rapport with somebody.
And that's where it's possible for us to get into that. But I'm actually kind of going more the other way. When it comes to landscaping, I'm actually trying to actually get back into more specialized what we do in-house and sub out more things. So for the last couple of years, the only thing I would really sub out is like a putting green and concrete. And now we're subbing out so just turf in general for the most part, unless it's like a really small job.
Yeah.
The putting green, the concrete, fencing, staining, pergolas. And the reason why is not because we can't do it. It's just if we sub it out, these guys do it all day long. And they've been doing it for the last 5 years. The quality is so much better because that's all they do. And it's actually cheaper. Yeah. That was something I was kind of surprised at when I got into it and just started using other people. I was surprised. It's cheaper. They do it in half the time, and it's better than my guys. Yeah. So I thought I was actually controlling for quality by keeping everybody in house that I controlled, and they were my thing. The only thing I can't really control as much is timing. So that's where but that goes back to like the expectations, like what you were talking about earlier. Where as long as you tell them, like, hey, look, we'll start either tomorrow or the next day. Yeah. And then that way, if it's the next day, even though it should be tomorrow, they aren't upset. Yeah. It looks like you came in early.
Yeah, under promise, over deliver.
Exactly. So I've added, the different people that we've been using, and it's so I can provide this at a lower cost, at a higher quality, and do it faster. Yeah. Like you just hit the trifecta there for being able to sell more customers.
Sure. So you sub those out to their specialties. So go back to kind of what you are wanting to specialize in, truly, or what you do specialize
in-house. That's something that's more difficult that people can't do is stonework. We've got some really good stonemasons. So when we come out to build like either a front flower bed, stone wall, an outdoor kitchen, like your, chimney, like the built-in chimneys and like the patios, that kind of deal. It's not an outdoor kitchen. It's like a outdoor fireplace basically, but it's not the fire pit. Right. Or we're doing actual fire pits, or just making new flower beds in the backyards with the stonework, like all those different type of things. Sure. Doing paver patios, doing like French drains and all that kind of stuff. Just doing all of those in-house, just simplifying it down because the other side of things is like the more complex that you have, the more you have to pay people. So like if I have to have a guy that knows how to build a pergola and do French drains and stonework and like all these different things and do it really well, I'm gonna have to pay that guy a lot of money to be able to keep him because he can go anywhere. He can do everything. Right. Why does he have to work for me? Yeah. And so if I only need to train people how to be really good at stone, and then because the other stuff, if they know how to do good stone, they can do a French drain and grout because all that stuff's really simple. Right. And so we can turn out work a lot quicker, more efficiently. Like I had 5 job sites going on. Is that yesterday? What's today? Tuesday? I don't know. I just work every day, it just kind of all melts together. So I think it was Monday. I had 5 job sites. I had a concrete job going on. I had my 2 crews working on their job sites, and then one was finishing and starting another one. The mowing crew, they were doing a project. So actually it was 6 jobs. So yeah, there's 6 jobs going on, and at the same time. And so even though only I have the same amount of crews, if anything, I have less guys. You're actually producing a lot in revenue. And so it's actually more scalable that way as well.
Yeah, because they're just
so I can find talent a little bit easier because it's still hard to find stonemasons, but it's a lot harder to find a stonemason that can do fencing and a pergola and staining and do all the other things really well. And so that way I can have a more skilled crew that does just the stone. Is kind of where we're trying this out right now. This is something we'll find out soon. Have a crew that does mostly just the stonework, and then have another, I guess you could say, less skilled. It's not because they're less skilled. It's just they focus on more irrigation, French drains, flower beds, that kind of stuff.
Right.
So if we have stone related stuff, come in, knock that out. Have them leave, go start the next job, and then have the other crew come in right behind them, knock out plants, irrigation, whatever the other pieces are that they need on that.
Yeah, I feel like from a time aspect, that's actually better too, because you're just knocking it out, not waiting on anybody.
The one thing that I'm anticipating that's going to be difficult is the scheduling, because if they're finishing up a job that takes 2 days and this one's already done, well, now the customer's having to sit there and wait for our work to get done, and people want fast, clean and easy.
Yeah.
And so I'm taking out fast by doing that potentially.
Sure.
Or I have to have enough people or enough extra crews to help out with that, where then everything gets more difficult to schedule. So I don't like it, but it's hard to find stonemasons.
Yeah.
And so, I think I'll fix that problem at some point by finding the right guys here pretty soon.
Sure.
And then we can just have 2 crews that do everything from stone to the basics. And then they can go in, get it. A lot of people run their job sites where they go in and they start a job and then they go do another job and then they come back and do the next phase and whatever. I like to just knock stuff out and get it over with.
Yeah.
It's just easier. It's just everyone's happier. You run into less problems. People don't forget anything.
That makes sense. Absolutely. Is there anything else, like update-wise on businesses that you want to share before we kind of wrap?
So we started a couple new things that we've been developing. So this is a part of, like, as we grow, we're running into either new problems or new solutions that we think is like something that we're doing now is kind of a combination with some other people have already done, just kind of putting it all together. Is on the roofing side, the way that we're starting to do some marketing now is whenever we put a roof up, we're going to, starting 2 weeks before, send out a letter to everybody, not everyone in the neighborhood, but if you send it out to 100 people, that's probably about everybody in the immediate area, and just let everybody know, like, hey, we're going to be in the area on June 21st. So that's 2 or 3 weeks from now. Let's say we're going to have, there's going to be extra people because there's going to be probably an extra 10 cars between all the crew and different people that are going to be showing up to work on everything. If we're blocking a driveway, there's going to be extra noise because we're going to start at 7 a.m. There's going to be debris that's potentially flying around because that stuff falls from a roof down. There's, light tar paper. That stuff can just blow off. And, we try not to, but it happens. So give us a call so that way people know that who it is that's getting it done and who can clean it up.
Nice.
And then also let them know that, we want to leave on a good note. We don't want to just come in, knock it out and leave. Like, we're here for, building the community and help keeping everything together. And so we're going to have a cookout at the end. We're just going to have a barbecue, just have like some hot dogs, burgers, some Cokes, invite people over to, come see the work that we did, see how we cleaned up, see how we work together. And then about a week before, have our marketing agency do like a local, probably the smallest we can get is like a zip code around it, but just let everybody know. Basically the same thing, just like what we're going to be doing so people are aware of what's happening. So that way we're hitting them in the mailbox and digitally, because some people, every person has a different way that they gather information. And so then from there, the day before, go out there and on those, same about 100 people leave something on their door saying the same thing. So that way, if they didn't see our letter or they didn't see us online, they'll probably see us on their door then where they can read it. And a lot of people still won't probably, but that way they've got the information. I mean, we did our best. There's not much else you can do at that point.
Sure.
We'll have our sign up front. The morning of, we'll set up a tent with a table just so that way people can see where it is that we're going to be at for the cookout.
Right.
And then at 6 o'clock to like 7 or so, do the cookout, invite the neighbors out, let them know.
That's cool.
Clean up.
I feel like that's a nice common courtesy. Like, hey, sorry for making a mess, but come
And
eat.
a lot of people do that, where they do like a piece of it. They'll set up a booth or they'll knock 5 or 6 neighbors around them, just letting them know. It's called a 6-pack, where you're just, letting people know that we're going to be doing that tomorrow.
Yeah.
But we're trying to go above and beyond. We're trying to stand out. We're trying to do things bigger and better than other people, because a lot of people underestimate what hard work will do. Like, so if you look at your average YouTuber, us, let's say, we're making a podcast, we're posting it, versus say Mr. Beast. The difference between us and him is the level of effort. I mean, they spend $1 million on the video. And it's not because they just literally spend, $1 million on equipment or something.
Right.
They're spending it on, talent to think up ideas. What's the best thumbnail? What's the best way to do this? Let's redo this. Let's shoot this. Let's do it over and over and over again until it's perfect.
Right.
So we're trying to put that same effort in. So we're trying to find the best contractors to work on our jobs, the best salespeople, as well as, just level of service.
Yeah.
Trying to put it all together. So trying to contact people in different ways to let them know we're going to be working, what to expect, because we're not just affecting the person that we're putting the roof on. Like I said, we're blocking a whole street almost. It's going to take a lot of space.
Right.
And so that way people know who it is and who to call if there's something wrong.
Right. Or they're just mad. Just kidding.
Or they're just mad. And, you know,
Like, please
we
move.
tried.
Yeah. Get off my street.
So, but people, a lot of times, like what happens in a neighborhood, when you go in to put a roof up, you're not going to put up just that one roof, because if you were called in there, you're probably going to start working on some of the neighbors' roofs.
Yeah.
And so if they see you do it for house one, and then along the way, you know, some other neighbor calls you, then in a month they're seeing your letter and the whole round again. Like, man, they've done this 2 or 3 times now consistently in the same way.
Right.
So that means if I call them, I'm probably going to get the same treatment.
Absolutely.
And I know I don't want to, you know, have my neighbors mad at me because some roofers just showed up randomly and started working. And why didn't they tell me? Like, they know they're going to get a certain level of service.
Yep, absolutely. That's really good information. Obviously, a lot of great growth and a lot of great things happening, especially coming soon in the future. Well, thank you for being here. Thanks for sharing all of that. We will see you next time.
All right. Appreciate it.